door! Open the door! Search one! Open the door!
I'm sorry.
Phoenix Police search warrant! Phoenix Police search warrant! Come to the door! Search warrant! Come to the door! Shots fired!
I'm sorry.
Everybody good?
Good.
Out! Hey, back.
998. 998. Come on. I got him. Get down.
Here, come back.
Get over here. Max, you have first aid?
Hey, I'm okay. I'm all right.
You're good.
I'm all right. Where's the gun?
Man,
Where's the gun you shot us with?
it's over there on the floor, man.
Why'd you shoot at us?
Bro, I was scared. I was sleeping, man.
My best guess is this is a no-knock search warrant because they don't give a reasonable amount of time for somebody to make themselves known or answer the door from the time they actually knock on the door to the point in which they go to a breach.
Phoenix Police search warrant! Phoenix Police search warrant!
I covered the difference between no-knock and knock and announce search warrants in a previous video, but I think we can all agree that knocking on the door and then immediately breaching doesn't give somebody inside a reasonable amount of time to make themselves known. I'm not saying this is wrong, I'm just pointing out that this is what this looks like. This officer's body cam right here, him walking up, he's the officer that actually takes shrapnel, and the only thing that I can tell for certain is that one round comes through the wall near the AC vent right here, and you can see that by what looks like the impact of the round and the debris flying afterwards. I know this is the officer that takes the shrapnel because he's wearing this silver watch on his left wrist, and if you play the body cam from the officer that's injured, you can also see the silver watch on his left wrist. These guys know what they're doing. They have really good tactics. It looks like they're porting both the windows adjacent to the actual door itself, and then they are utilizing shields to cover those windows, which isn't a bad idea. We can figure out a roundabout where the suspect is inside the room because this officer did hit him with his gunfire, put him in the hospital in critical condition, and the position of the suspect inside of the room is somewhere to the right of the doorway as the officers are looking at it. I do want to point out that many of these dark holes that appear to be to the left of the door were here prior to the shooting starting. Therefore, it's really hard to determine where the suspect was actually intending to shoot and where any of his rounds were actually impacting besides the round that I already pointed out. Now I assume, since what it looks like they're doing is a no-knock, that they are actually intending to make entry as soon as the door comes open. And if you look at the video, you can actually see this officer attempt to take a step forward as if he's about to enter, and then the suspect starts shooting. Now I'm going to be using this video in an upcoming video where I talk about shields, but this is what I'm talking about when I talk about the fact that suspects shooting from concealed positions or suspects shooting at us before we have time to react to that. And this suspect in this situation got off 6 rounds before the officer could even identify where he needed to put his rounds. They did say 2 officers were injured, but they only indicated that 1 officer was hit with shrapnel, so I have no idea what the other injury is, but I'm assuming it wasn't gunfire or he wasn't hit with the actual round itself, because I'm pretty sure they would have said an officer was shot. In law enforcement, this is what speed, surprise, and violence of action is. We're gonna do a no-knock warrant, we're gonna hit the door a few times, we're gonna overwhelm that structure, and that suspect who's inside, he won't have the ability to fight us. When in actuality, the only difference between a suspect fighting you or not fighting you is the suspect's willingness to actually put up that fight. If these SWAT officers made entry and they got to room number 2 and the suspect was standing there with his hands up and they put him down and take him into custody, everyone's gonna be like, wow, speed, surprise, and violence of action, it worked so well. He was so scared, he just didn't even want to fight us. If violence of action, of which I've told you guys in the previous video, is what I call an in-theory concept, where people use that as an explanation to explain why a certain way of doing something is better, safer, and more efficient, is supposed to force the person inside to either not be ready or willing to fight. How was this suspect in this situation on a no-knock search warrant, after the doors hit, a few times, able to put rounds on these officers or at the threshold before these officers are even able to make it inside? These guys look like good dudes. They have their stuff together. They know what they're doing. They came up with a plan to attack this specific problem, but we have to ask ourselves, right? Pretend like we're in that debrief on what we could have done better, right? Well, if evidence isn't our priority, and the priority is, the officers here that are working together, and not necessarily just the bad guy who's inside this residence, because this isn't a hostage rescue situation, one of these options could be to utilize the Bearcat, to put a react team inside the Bearcat, and then utilize the ram on the front of the Bearcat to actually breach the door. I'm pretty sure that the Bearcat could have fit through the parking space that we've seen the officer run through, and he probably had a good enough angle to actually get that ram on the door to push that door open, and then we can start call outs from there, and we can just work that problem from right there. Or you could maintain a surrounding call out position behind hard cover and try it that way. if evidence is not your priority. If for whatever reason you have to be at the door, because I understand that some teams have to be at the door, you don't have assets, etc., then the only way to ensure that your officer is still alive to be able to deliver rounds back towards the threat that he can't see is that officer having a shield. I know they're utilizing shields at both the windows. I think that's perfectly fine. I'm sure this SWAT team has another shield that they could have utilized up front. And that's the only way, right? Your rifle, it looks cool, right? You can be fast and accurate with your rifle, but this suspect got off 6 rounds before we had a chance to do anything. And so I'd like to challenge just like the team leaders and the supervisors out there that are making these decisions and coming up with a tactical plan. Once you come up with that plan, look at it, then ask yourself, what's the worst case scenario in this situation, just starting outside the threshold? And the worst case scenario is, as we breach the door, we start taking gunfire through the door, and our guy goes down. Our guy is, seriously hurt or wounded, or killed, sorry. And I imagine that if we're honest with ourselves in that debrief, when that happens, and even this one too, that you would look for a real solution to what you were faced with. And if you have to be at the door, the only solution to be alive, to still deliver rounds back towards the threat, is if that person up front has a ballistic shield. Your split times don't mean anything if you're lying on the ground in a puddle of your own blood and your buddies are having to extract you away from the threshold. If you're not subscribed to the channel, you can do that by tapping on this photo, and don't forget to feed the algorithm down below.